up, Chiefs Kingdom, and welcome to the Arrowhead Chiefs Cast Smack Talk Special Edition. I'm Josh, and a big reminder that all fans are invited to join us for game day. Please visit arrowheadkingdom.org to learn more about the group and find your local chapter. Also, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, which is, of course, presented by Complete Weddings and Events, your leading provider of photo, video, DJ, photo booth, lighting, and day of coordination services. Visit them at completewedo.com. And today we're going to be talking about the Chiefs versus Eagles Super Bowl with Philly super fan Dan Beaty. Welcome.
Let's go Birds.
All right. So I think we need to get a piece of housekeeping out of the way first. We've been friends for a while, and we actually share a certain piece of history. So on June 15th, 1981, a couple of lovely ladies went to the hospital and changed the world forever, as we share the exact same birthday.
Glorious day for humankind, Harper.
Glorious day, yeah. And I have to be thorough with the research and mention there's actually a third person that bears being brought into this list, and that's your guys' coach, Nick Sirianni. That is his birthday as well.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, born in Jamestown, New York on June 15th, 1981. Yep.
I did not know that. I can't believe I didn't know that, but thank you
I don't
for
know why you
enlightening me,
wouldn't know
Josh.
that is the thing. I mean, that was just a thing that I started looking up. I found that when I was looking up to make sure that I just had all the details of his tenure prior to being the Eagles head coach, because he, one of the storylines that we can get into. Let's just make sure that we're talking about what this game actually is. So we have two 16-3 teams. They both scored, I believe, at 654 points to date right now. And I would say that they're pretty easily the best quarterbacks in each conference. We have the Reed versus Eagles thing. And then we also have a little bit of a Reed versus Sirianni, because Sirianni was the wide receivers coach for the Chiefs in 2012. Reed came in after that dumpster fire of a season and didn't retain him. In fairness to Sirianni, I'm not really sure what he was supposed to be doing with, I had the list here, John Baldwin, Steve Breston, and Dexter McCluster. So that was just
world beaters right there.
Yeah, world beaters. I mean, that was just collateral damage, but the type of thing that happens when you change a regime. And I think that we also have the best defense in the league against the best offense in the league. So you got the immovable object, unstoppable force, all those superlatives, yada yada yada. So I think this is going to be the end of where we agree on things. And
well, you're also forgetting the clash of the Kelsey brothers.
The clash of the Kelsey brothers, that's correct. Yeah, so the two most fun people in the league right now. They're
two Hall of Famers.
Absolutely.
That's some good genetics right there. You also have the youngest total age for quarterbacks ever to meet in a Super Bowl.
And we also have to say, in February, the first African-American quarterback matchup in the Super Bowl.
First African-American quarterback matchup. There you go. The storylines abound.
Storylines abound, yeah. And I mean, like you said before we even started recording, these are the teams that were supposed to be playing in the Super Bowl. It's the way that it's supposed to be the entire season. And I would say by about we'll say 5th or 6th week, I think it became pretty clear that the Eagles were the best team in the NFC, and Kansas City had a little bit of crowd with them through most of the season. Everybody wanted to play up Josh Allen, and of course, Joe Burrow got his day in the sun as well. The Niners kind of came into the narrative late in the season over in the NFC, but it's really been the Eagles the entire season. So we got the game we all deserve.
Got the game we all deserved. I'm looking forward to it, and we'll see where it goes.
All right, so let's get into what we're actually going to talk about. So let's get into the reasons why we disagree on what the outcome of this game is going to be. So we'll each present. We'll each present 3 arguments, unless you want to concede to the Chiefs right now. But so what's
Vegas is going to agree with me, just to let you know.
Vegas is agreeing with you by 1.5. So
that actually is Vegas intentionally giving a very attractive number. But 75% of America's money is on the Birds.
Sure, and America never gets anything wrong. So what is your first reason from a football standpoint why you see the Eagles being victorious?
Well, the first clear reason, this is pretty self-evident when you just go through the rosters, is that at just about every level, the Eagles have a clear advantage in talent. The Chiefs have the talent advantage at quarterback, absolutely.
Sure.
Going to agree with you. Mahomes, best quarterback in the league, generational talent, amazing, is dinged up. We'll see how that plays. But love the guy. He's amazing. Obviously a big fan of Hurts, but Mahomes is clearly the class of the NFL.
Sure.
Travis Kelce, best tight end in the league, one of the best ever. Love the guy, incredible talent. Now you can make a little bit of an argument about coach. I think that Andy Reid, most people would say, is probably the best coach in the league. Although I would say that he makes questionable game time decisions, which sometimes get covered up by having an all-world quarterback. But we've all seen him screw up his clock management. But other than that, position by position, Eagles are clearly superior, to the point where there's been plenty of chatter about Hurts and how anybody could play behind this team.
Yes, I don't know that I agree with the anybody could play behind. Hurts is a talented guy. I mean, I've got some, plenty of props for Hurts. I mean, he got it done in two big college football situations, Oklahoma and Alabama. He's a good player. I think the couple of weeks that he didn't play showed pretty evidently that you can't just hand the keys to anybody. I mean, it kind of reminds me of the Steve Nash Suns in the early 2000s. He's the guy that had the keys to the Ferrari. I think Bill Simmons said that. And you think you can hand them off to anybody, but getting in a Ferrari and driving it isn't the easiest thing.
There's a lot of people that need Ferraris and they crash off the side of the road.
Exactly. I'm not going to argue with you very hard on any of the defensive side. The one place that I would say that I don't know that there's a clear and distinct, undisputable advantage. If you look at the ratings, say whatever you will about PFF. I mean, but they've been consistent throughout the year. Both offensive lines are top 5. The Eagles are the top rated. They're also the most penalized, with Carl Treffers being the head referee. That's something always to look at. The Chiefs are ranked 4th, so it's not like you're going against a depleted line similar to what the Bucs got in 2020. The real matchup that I'm looking at is Orlando Brown, who's going for a new contract. He's on the franchise tag, so that guy needs to have the game of his life, because I mean, I'll just be the first to admit I was looking at stats for y'all's pass rush, and it's obviously quite good.
We can get to that point next, Josh.
Yeah, all right. So,
but to the offensive line point, I agree with you that Kansas. It's kind of like one of those issues with Kelce versus Dallas Goedert, and Hurts versus Mahomes. Right? Mahomes is better than Hurts, but Hurts is still excellent. He's going to be the runner-up in the MVP race. Goddard is probably at this point top 5, top 6 tight end, right around there. It's not like he's trash. Sure. He's excellent. The Eagles' offensive line is one of the best offensive lines ever put together. You've got 2 Hall of Famers, no doubt. The one big concern going into the playoffs for the Eagles, I think was probably the biggest concern, was Lane Johnson and whether or not he would be able to be healthy enough to play. And frankly, he's not, but he's playing. He's playing out of his mind. And he's the best right tackle in the league. Kelsey's the best center in the league. They've got Dickerson, who's another Pro Bowler. You've got Jordan Mailata, who is a behemoth of a man. He looks like he'll be able to eat your defensive line. So I agree with you. Chiefs have got a solid offensive line. I don't know if they're going to be able to hold up against that Eagles pass rush, but the Eagles offensive line can dictate the terms of a game. And that's one of the things that the Chiefs are going to have to look at from a ball possession issue, right? Is Mahomes going to be able to keep the ball on the field, or is that defense going to be ground down by that meat grinder of a Bird's offensive line?
Sure. So, I mean, the big advantage that I'll also throw out from a coaching standpoint, and this is my first thing, I would tend to agree that Andy Reid is the best coach in the league. Bill Belichick would probably try to make an argument, but I don't think that his track record post Tom Brady gives him as much of an argument as we would historically say that he had. The main thing that I would point out about Reid is it's pretty well documented that he's quite good after a week off. So he's 27-4 after a bye. He's 3-0 against the Eagles. Nick Sirianni is a great coach, but he's not going to be up to Reid's caliber. And as you're saying, this is going to come down to a lot of game planning, and with a stout Eagles pass rush that I'm sure you're going to get into a lot more statistically. It's going to take a colossal effort from the Chiefs' offensive line and a good game plan. They're going to have to get the ball out of Mahomes' hands quickly. So I expect to see an offense catered towards that. So quick passes to backs. Kelsey's going to be dominating over the middle of the field. And then, of course, you'll also have the passes to whatever part of the wide receiving core ends up playing. It looks like Juju is going to play Kadarius Toney, and never really know what you're going to get out of him. But what they're getting out of him right now in practice is he's as fast as he's looked the entire time he's been with Kansas City. So what I'm looking for him to do is put up the colossal effort in a Super Bowl, a la Sammy Watkins, the guy that has trouble staying on the field, has a big game, and that's what I expect out of Kadarius Toney, and it's all going to be based on Andy Reid's game plan. So what do you got next?
Well, I mean, you got to go with that pass rush, right? That pass rush, there's been one team in the history of the NFL that has had more sacks than the Eagles have this year, and that is the 1985 Bears. Have you ever heard of that team? Not bad.
Monsters
right?
of the Midway, the Super Bowl shuffle.
Not a bad team. That's over 70 sacks.
Sure.
The first team in the history of the NFL to have 4 guys with double-digit sacks, and they are deep. They can rotate players. They've got talent out the wazoo. And Mahomes, you know it, I know it. He's hobbled, and he, I mean, even playing on one leg, the guy's an incredible pocket passer. But I just don't know if he's going to have that same agility that you typically see with him. And even if he does at the beginning of the game, he's going to get hit. He's going to get hit, and he's going to get nicked up. And is it going to be able to hold up? We shall see. But they have to get that ball out quickly. I 100% agree with you that Kelsey's probably going to have a big game. The middle part of the field is probably the weakest part of the Eagles defense. So he will be getting fed the ball. But, you're going to have to be able to sustain drives. You have to sustain drives. You can't have 3 and outs, or, just picking up 1 or 2 first downs. If you do, it's going to be a long game for you guys. And I'm really feeling that my boy Reddick's going to get another couple sacks and maybe a strip. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. So my next point was Patrick Mahomes. Had to go there. You knew that's where I had to go. So here's the big thing. He doesn't put the ball on the ground. Historically, he doesn't put the ball on the ground. He did have some interception issues earlier in this season. What I really focused on when I was looking at stats was the last 6 games. In the last 6 games, he's thrown 1 interception and taken 1 sack, or 8 sacks. So the line has kept him upright. He's gotten the ball out quickly. He's been smart with his passes. His last really bad game, he had 3 interceptions against that horrible Broncos team in that matchup where they let Russell Wilson score 28 points, which was just a complete joke of itself. But so the offense has been keeping him up. And yes, he is hobble, but he also recovers like a freak. He had his kneecap in his calf a couple seasons ago. And he missed 2 games, something to that effect. He came back and he played, I think, quite well for a guy that was hobbled and supposed to be inefficient against Cincinnati. He went 29 for 43, 67%, 326 yards, 2 touchdowns, and when he had to, he made that game-sealing 8-yard rush against the clock at the very end, which brought out I don't know why Bengals think this is controversial, but that controversial play where he was leveled outside of the sidelines. But like I said before,
I mean, stupid play. Don't hit the quarterback.
Exactly.
Out of and then that's
exactly
a flag every day, and it's especially a flag when it's Mahomes.
Exactly. And I mean, here's the other thing. In 8 seconds, you really don't think Mahomes figures out a way to get 5 more yards and Bucker still makes that field goal? I mean, what are we talking about?
Look, I mean, people will find reasons to complain about the refs all the time.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I
especially
mean,
at least their team to lose, but sometimes.
Well, exactly. I think I had 3 people. I was in Vegas for the Pro Bowl this last week, and I think I had 3 people tell me that that game was fixed. I'm like, get out of here. I don't have anything.
Oh, I've heard plenty about that with the Niners and the Birds too.
Well, exactly.
It's like,
exactly.
are you serious? Did you watch the game?
Well, exactly, exactly.
Oh,
And
it's
then
like,
the
oh, the
last thing
Eagles
I'll
got
say,
lucky. No, get out
exactly.
of here.
And the
Yeah.
last thing I'll say about Mahomes is that in his career, he's been an underdog 9 times and he's 7-1-1. So the nobody believes in us narrative is a powerful thing in sports, and Mahomes is leaning into that right now. And it's similar to the times that he's counting his hands on out of the 10 for the teams that picked before him and everything. So Patrick Mahomes is my number 2. What do you have next?
Well, I'm also a big believer in the nobody believes mantra. In fact, we captured that in our Super Bowl victory in 2018. Nobody likes us, we don't care.
Yep.
Um,
Philly
I
special.
think a lot of Eagles fans and even the media to an extent is trying to come up with a narrative where the Chiefs are somehow favored coming into this game. But I think you guys are pretty clearly the underdog, and we'll see how it plays out. And one of those reasons is my third reason, which is kind of one of the overlooked portions of this Eagles team, which is incredible, is that they have perhaps a top 3 wide receiver tandem in Brown and Devontae. These guys are stone cold assassins, and they can both beat you in different ways. Um, and it's kind of crazy to think that AJ Brown and Hurts haven't even really connected in the playoffs. And that'll be a big storyline, I think, going into this game. Not a lot of people outside of Philadelphia are fully aware about the status of Hurts's shoulder, and he injured that during the Chicago game.
Yep.
Missed a couple games, um, came back for the playoffs, and he's been playing pretty well. I mean, he played well in the Giants game, but not big stats. It was efficient, but not big stats. Had a huge miss with AJ Brown, and I wouldn't say he played particularly well throwing the ball against the Niners. Now, Hurts can beat you in a lot of different ways. He can beat you
Sure.
with his decision making. He can beat you with his feet. Coming into the draft and as a prospect, Hurts was not viewed as really having strong arm talent.
Mhm.
That's why guys like Chris Sims didn't have him in their top 40 as a quarterback. That's why he was drafted in the second round, and that was viewed as a reach. But he is an indomitable person, incredible work ethic, and he built an pretty mechanically sound throwing motion, and it's one of the reasons why you saw his game explode this year. But when you have a shoulder injury, you compensate. Your mechanics fall apart a little bit.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see how his arm is working in the Super Bowl. But if it's working, and if he's connecting with his wide receivers, it's game over. Like, that's it. Game, set,
Yep.
match. If he's
Yep.
able to get the ball with distance and velocity to those players, those guys get open. They will get yards after the catch. They will score the touchdowns.
Yep. So I agree. Great wide receiver tandem. So I did look at Hurts stats over the past 6 games, which is really 4 games with the past 6 weeks. He's got 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. I'm well aware of what the shoulder situation is, and generally I take Mahomes' ankle situation over Hurts' shoulder. So my third key and what I expect to see is the Chiefs D is going to come in with a plan. They've been panned for most of the season, but they play quite well down the stretch, which is when everything absolutely matters. So I think that they can pressure Hurts in the running game and Hurts' running game and force this game to be a passing through the air. And so again, if Hurts' arm isn't 100%, that's going to favor the Chiefs, which the defense has also been forcing turnovers. They have 10 in the past 6 weeks. And just look no further to last week against a good Bengals offense against what I think is the best wide receiver trio that I can recall seeing in a number of years. They put Burrow on the ground 5 times. They hit him a total of 12, and they had 7 defended passes. They held Burrow to 270 yards passing, and there wasn't a single 100-yard receiver between Higgins and Jamar Chase and why am I blanking on the third guy? Tyler Boyd.
Yep,
So
Tyler Boyd.
yep. So that guy. So they held
He's
those
the
guys.
third.
So
Yeah.
I think the blueprint is going to be roughly the same. Steve Spagnuolo wants to be a head coach again. This is going to be the kind of performance if he can get that out of the defense and get Chris Jones, who is actually the number 2 sack leader in the league with 17 and a half this year to create his own pressure. Still nothing like the 4 with double digits that you have, but I had to throw Chris Jones out there.
Look, Chris Jones is a stud. Nobody's going to disagree with you on that. The Eagles' offensive line is a bit different than the Bengals' offensive line, I'd say.
I understand
a
that.
little bit of a different animal.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, we'll see. It'll be interesting to watch. I think that vaunted Chiefs secondary is aggressive, but they are susceptible to moves. And these guys, they can beat aggressive coverage. They can do it. And I think the offensive line is going to give Hurts that time to make those passes. Whether or not he can make them, I don't know. But guess what? Who's the best defense in the league this year? It's 49ers, right? 31 points. Hurts didn't even have a good game.
Chiefs put 41 on him, by the way.
Just say, well, that was without a healthy Hurts. 31.
Yeah, sure. All right. So what do you got for a final score?
31-24 Birds.
Okay, I'm going 34-31. I think we're going to get a few more points, Chiefs. I got MV Pat collecting a second MVP trophy in a week. Who do you got in a Birds win? Who would be your MVP?
I'm going Devontae. I think that he's going to get some big yardage.
Got it.
But a lot of people are really kind of hoping for a defensive MVP. The odds on that, I think the best odds might be Jones at like plus 4,400 or something like that. But
sure,
that'd be fun to see a defensive player get an MVP.
That would be the first one since was Von Miller the MVP in 2015?
That sounds right to me. It's been a while.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think it was him when that horrible team from Denver that's not going to be winning anything anytime soon. Which, by the way, congratulations on Daniel Jones staying in New York as the quarterback. That's a huge win for you guys.
It's fine. Like, Daniel Jones is fine. I thought that you were going to bring up Sean Payton. Like, what the hell is that guy thinking?
No,
like,
well, yeah,
like that
I don't know what the hell that
franchise
guy's
is a
thinking
dumpster
either.
fire. Like, that's the team you're going to come out of retirement for.
Well,
the
exactly.
Team that like Russ is a joke, and they've given up all their capital. It's like that team isn't going anywhere.
They gave up everything. I mean, the ceiling is Peyton and Jameis Winston in the Saints. That's the ceiling, which is
I just don't understand it.
Playoff team. I mean, he's not getting any Drew Brees out of that, but yeah.
Well,
all right, let's talk.
These are two teams that are very well built. They're built for the future, and I'm looking forward to continuing this rivalry for years to come.
Yeah, absolutely. This might not be the last time that we're talking about this game. Before we get out of here, let's talk a little bit about food. We have two cities that are quite well known for their food. Kansas City for barbecue. I know you've been there. I don't know any places that you've been or if there's anything you like. I've obviously spent some time in Philadelphia. I am definitely one of those people that gets angry when I see something called a Philly cheesesteak on a menu that's not on a board on the wall in Philadelphia. The one exception that I actually tolerated, there was a place in Milwaukee that doesn't exist anymore, but they're bringing Amoroso bread in every single day.
Oh, good for them.
And they were
excellent.
They were doing the best version outside of the city of Philadelphia that I've ever seen. So I have an opinion on that.
Well, it is all about the bread, which is very hard to duplicate outside of Philadelphia. Kansas City barbecue it's funny you brought this up. I was like, I've only been to Kansas City once. You were there.
Yeah.
You guys did not take me to a barbecue place. I did have some barbecue while tailgating. So that was pretty tasty, but I am a big barbecue fan. Also heard little burnish your lapel a little bit. I was just at a sales meeting and was talking to somebody from St. Louis.
Yeah.
And I gave that individual the option about try to talk some smack about St. Louis or Kansas City, and she straight up said doesn't hold a candle. It's all about Kansas City barbecue. There you go.
Well, first of all, we both need to pistol whip Clint for not doing barbecue when you guys are out.
Yeah, what the hell, Clint?
Yeah, seriously.
Whatever, that's on him.
Well, if that game, I'm a big believer that the Chiefs and Eagles are going to be playing each other in Germany next year. So if that doesn't happen, it'll be back in Arrowhead. So I think another thing will be in order, and I will ensure that we meet up for that game and that you get some KC barbecue, and it'll be from one of the list of 3 that I give. So
Now, what's the move? Is it ribs? Is that the move?
so I for me it's always brisket.
Okay.
And so
I
then you
love
have
brisket. Yeah.
and then you have burn-ins, which is a Kansas City thing. And if I remember correctly, it was an Arthur Bryant's thing that started with that. So Arthur
Okay.
Bryant's is a place that's forever. But so my number one barbecue there is and probably always will be Joe's KC barbecue. It used to be called Oklahoma Joe's. I align with Anthony Bourdain. He wrote at one point in an article for, I want to say it was Esquire, it was something like 10 or 12 places to eat at before you die, and that was his barbecue place. And his
Well, okay
response
then.
was, the best barbecue in the world is in Kansas City. Everybody knows that. And this is the best restaurant for barbecue in Kansas City. Thus, it's the best barbecue in the world. But Joe's KC, they have a sandwich called the Z-Man, which is a brisket sandwich with smoked provolone. And it's got onion rings, pickles, dusted Kaiser roll. I like to put Night of the Living sauce, which is a hot sauce, hot barbecue sauce on that. My number 2 is Q39. That's a new place. It's trendy, probably one of the more expensive places to go, but they do a really good job. When it comes to ribs, you mentioned that Gates Brothers is my number 3, and it's my favorite place to get ribs in Kansas City. Gates Brothers is the type of place where you'll have a long kind of winding line. And by the time you get up to the front of the line, the people are just in an attitude. They're like, you better know what you're doing. And they just give you guff as you're trying to go through the line. And I always love places like that, because if you're going to get away with that and have a long line, your food has to be good. And they definitely live up to that. So yeah, that's my barbecue trifecta.
Well, as you know, there is a way to order a Philadelphia cheesesteak
I
appropriately.
do know that.
And if you don't do it that way, you might get some side eye. But and for any listeners out there, the foundation is you order it, what type of cheese you want, and that typically is Cheese Whiz, American, or provolone. So you say whiz, and then whether or not you want onions. So whiz wit,
Yep.
there's no H on the with. Whiz wit would be cheese whiz cheesesteak with onions.
Yep.
And then you can add on any other various accoutrements you might want, like mushroom or
Yep.
peppers, things
Peppers are
like that.
good.
Yeah, peppers are really solid. I'm a big fan of a mushroom pepper whiz wit. There you go.
There you go.
So I thought about this a little bit. I thought I'd give the audience some good places where they might actually be able to go. My favorite tourist place, because that's important. The ones that you see on TV all the time when you're watching an Eagles game, they'll generally take you to Pat's and Gino's, which are these places in South Philly. They're across the street from one another, big glitzy neon places. Their cheesesteaks suck. Do not recommend going there. It's not worth the trip. Absolutely not. Now, just a couple blocks away, there's a pizza joint called Angelo's. He actually, the place was actually featured on was it Just One Bite with Davey Portnoy? One Bite or whatever his pizza thing is, right?
Yep.
Excellent pizza, fantastic, top-notch pizza, some of the best pizza in the city. But they also have a tremendous cheesesteak. Then Jim's is probably my favorite absolute tourist place to go to. That's right on South Street. Unfortunately, it just burned down, but they should be rebuilding shortly. And if you want a good Philadelphia vibe cheesesteak that's a little touristy but still really, really good, go to Jim's.
Did they burn down because there was so much grease all over the place from the awesome ribeye steak they were cooking
That must
up?
have been it. That must have been it. Now, everybody always likes to associate cheesesteaks with Philadelphia, but a really tremendous sandwich, this is just as much Philadelphia as a cheesesteak, if not more so, is the roasted pork. Beautiful, wonderful sandwich. Great way to get it is at the Reading Terminal, Philadelphia, another good tourist place. Go to Denick's, get it with broccoli rabe and sharp provolone. Ask for a little extra juice on top, and you will not be disappointed.
There you go, a little extra juice on top. You're getting into Chicago Italian beef type
It's
of
not too
world.
different from that, but it is great.
Yeah. So I got to say, I've spent a decent amount of time in Philly, and D'Alessandro's is my favorite steak place, and I know that's one that's off the beaten path. They
Can't
don't
go
have
wrong
a
with
place to
Del's.
sit and eat. You sit in a park. It's awesome.
Oh yeah. And it has only gotten more popular, Josh. Like, it is impossible to get in there now. You go walk by there and it is just a mob scene. But well worth it. And the unfortunate thing about there's this place across the street, Chubby's.
Yeah.
Plenty of room to sit down, air conditioned, very solid cheesesteak. If that steak was like a block away from my house, I'd eat there all the time. Unfortunately, it's right across the street from the Pinnacle.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. All right. Well, looking forward to the Super Bowl, and may the best team win, regardless of how this goes. I'm also looking forward to what Rob McElhenney does with a new episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Some of the best ones that they do are after Philly title appearances. So this should be a good, interesting couple of weeks after this. But best of luck to you guys, and I'll talk to you later.
Best of luck to you. Thanks for having me.
All right, take care.